My soon-to-be in-laws throw a crap show. At my rehearsal dinner I paid for alone, so I tell friends to load food and beverages to my car and leave in-laws speechless. My male 39, ex-fiancée Kelly, female 40, and I were together for 3 years. We're both divorced and have children from our previous relationships. I had kids with my ex-wife, and Kelly got married really young and divorced after 10 years, then met a guy and got pregnant within weeks, and they tried to work things out, but they couldn't. We did have our challenges, but we always managed to pull through. We're both working class. So when I proposed, we agreed to either have a very small wedding or hold a larger event later because I would need to save up. She doesn't have a job, and I would need to save up for over a year. We skipped the big wedding dance and agreed on a ceremony and reception at her family's home where her aunts live. Kelly and I planned a very simple wedding in the space in her family's backyard and the garage. Because I was paying for almost everything, they offered to let us use the space as our venue at no cost. So I purchased the alcohol except for a few cases of beer and paid for the rental chairs and tables. My groomsmen chipped in with a few things while I noticed her family was very laid back. Don't get me wrong, it was my wedding and our responsibility. However, I noticed that she slowly began listening to them and wanted some things not in our budget. So she wanted a floral arch, and I managed to get one. Her mom began pushing for more stuff to accommodate her family's ideas. We agreed on a bakery cake, and my mother-in-law twisted her lips in disapproval. Those things felt annoying, but manageable. Fast forward and her big brother, Justin, 47, got depressed because he got dumped. The official story is that his wealthy witchy ex-girlfriend decided to dump him and mistreated him. I regretted letting him stay with us after I learned that he cheated on his ex. This bothered me a lot since his ex helped him out many times and did lots of things for his kids. Zero trust after that. Kelly and her siblings think he's God because he took over the paternal role when her parents divorced. They gave him way too much credit. The guy can't hold a job, can't even guide his children, right? And does lots of entertainment parenting, but doesn't teach them responsibility. I can't stand him and Kelly knows it. He can talk about his life during his 20s for a whole day, and it's always about how women chased him, about how an ex-girlfriend tried to herself, and how women had catfights over him. I confronted him about these weird stories to make him shut up. As the wedding approached, getting Kelly's attention in our relationship became more difficult. She started taking him on drives to check on his ex. I objected to this. Then he would constantly interrupt us to bring updates on his ex. He only wanted to apply to online jobs and ended up trying to enroll me in something that didn't look serious at all. I asked her to make him leave, but she got furious and stopped talking to me. Kelly and I had a huge argument that I'm sure he overheard. I went to take a shower, and when I came out of the bathroom, I overheard him telling her that he didn't expect me to understand him because I'm too simple. I can't remember his exact words, and said he doesn't expect, insert my job to understand his life. I immediately confronted him, and not only did she deny everything I heard, but she also basically took his side. I kicked him out and drove him to his mother's with all his things. That was 4 months ago, and her family never treated me the same. We had our rehearsal dinner, which was supposed to be a very small gathering. My kids and her kids were present, as were my parents and maybe 10 other people on my side. Her family kept showing up. I know that her family cooked for the occasion aside from other things that we provided, but the point is that I was limited to how many people I invited, while her side of the list kept growing and showing up. The worst part is that her mother got intoxicated. My family is very low-key and a bit shy, and my mother-in-law is belligerent, in stride just to keep the peace, but my family felt uncomfortable, and I knew that she was just trying to insult me. I pulled Kelly aside about 4 times to ask her to control her mother. To her credit, she tried to get her mom to sit down. Her family, older aunt and 2 cousins, also got intoxicated and got pretty loud. Nobody was paying attention when we were supposed to show some pictures on the monitor, and Justin was telling jokes and acting like the event was about him. The chairs had been pulled away from the tables, and the burgers and hot dogs intended for the kids were missing. I asked my parents to take my kids home, and after raging inside for the whole night, I decided to ask my friends to help me load all the alcohol and stuff that I contributed that were physically kept at her family's home into our cars. Everyone went quiet after that. It was a complete crap show. Kelly started crying and promised that her family would apologize. I didn't want to talk because her family used our rehearsal to party on my dime. I went to stay with a friend. From all this, what hurts the most is that she and my kids had to see the intoxicated spectacle, and my parents had to see me in an embarrassing situation. Kelly and I talked. She was very eager to fix things, but while I still love her, I don't see myself repeating the experience. I knew her family wasn't perfect, and, of course, mine isn't either, but I had very little support from her. She says that her family was just a big family talking among themselves and being loud, and that while she understood that I was offended, I caused a scene and she didn't disown me. I haven't been able to sleep because I feel empty and alone. It took a lot out of me, but I decided that we should cancel the wedding. I never want to see her mom or her brother again, and I will never ask her to cut them off because despite everything, it's not fair and she will hate me. Also, she would never do it, and the fact that my parents said they would support whatever I decided, that they would prefer not to attend my wedding, but would go anyway because they wouldn't do that to me really stung. So my family was ignored, and I was treated poorly, and I'm supposed to act like nothing happened. Kelly didn't take the cancellation very well, but I just can't do it. I said I would pay the remaining portion of the lease to avoid getting her and her kids kicked out, but our relationship is over. I already moved my things to avoid dragging a painful breakup. I know I will never go back, but her words about not disowning me hurt me because despite feeling like I'm on the right, I feel like I failed her somehow. She feels that I gave up and that my walking out was far worse. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This was how the rest of your life was going to be. She was never going to take your side. You would never have been her priority. You would be supporting her and whatever relative she allowed to live with you. You dodged a real bullet here. Don't feel bad at all. You and your children deserve better than the mess you left behind. This was a dumpster fire. The only thing that could make you the idiot is not canceling after she helped her brother stalk his ex after he cheated and lied about that. Oh, and why didn't she have a job? Imagine being a 40-year-old adult with no job who can't manage to live within a budget. Her family, with her included, sounds like they're just trash. Kelly, female 40. We're both working class, but she doesn't have a job. This does not make Kelly working class. This makes Kelly a leech on society. In the future, do not take people who don't work and that are not independently wealthy. They offered to let us use the space as our venue at no cost. Oh, that's awesome. They let you use their garage and didn't charge you for it. Dude, get some perspective. Why would they charge you? Yep. She's 40 years old with multiple kids and no job. What on earth is going on? Zero drive or ambition on her part and a clear lack of maturity. Literally, any job would be better than none. I guess she lived at the mom's place when they met. That should have been a huge red flag from the start. I would never get together with someone who I'm then expected to bankroll the rest of their lives because they're too lazy to make something of themselves. And that's before even considering having to deal with her bat-crazy family and exposing my kids to this. You are the idiot. Why are you paying for her share of the lease? This woman didn't love you. She didn't respect you. You were an ATM to her entire family and you know it. Stop being an ATM. Pay for your share of the lease and nothing more. Also, she would never disown you because she's a dependent, not because she loves you too much. Have some respect for yourself. She was using you. My wife and I planned a week-long vacation for mid-January. This was my birthday cruise. I paid for the entire cruise out of my personal funds, approximately $2,400. She has her own account. I have my own account, and we share a joint account. Around Christmas, we had a few arguments, nothing crazy, but a few arguments about this and that mainly due to daily stresses. She told me after New Year's that she was not going on vacation with me because of our arguments. Even though they were settled, she felt we might get into more arguments and didn't want to feel trapped on vacation with me if we were arguing. I understood her apprehension. I listened to her concerns, and though I felt a nice vacation from the daily stresses would be healthy, I decided to forego the birthday vacation and plan another trip for another time. Things were smooth after that. I shared with my wife that I still want to go on vacation, and she agreed to rebook another cruise. This time, I paid for the cruise, airfare, hotel, transfers, excursions, Wi-Fi, soda packages, etc., with whatever credit I received from the original cancellation. The balance was paid from my personal funds, an additional $540. This trip is for March. 2 weeks before the trip, my wife and I have an argument about daily stresses again. Like all arguments, they are civil and usually get resolved fairly quickly. A week after the argument, now a week before the vacation, my wife says she doesn't want to go on vacation again. I told her that I would like to go, and I would hope she would reconsider. That's pretty much all I talked to her about regarding the trip. Now it's 4 days before the vacation, and I cannot cancel without serious financial penalties. I've taken off from both jobs, and I really need to get some R&R. I told her I'm going on vacation anyway and plan to do so. Am I the idiot? If my partner bailed on 2 vacations over minor arguments, I'd argue with myself on a beach instead. You're not the idiot. You're just finally choosing peace over pettiness. Bon voyage, OP. Been there, did that. No regrets. I think we lasted another 6 months. She was cheating, so she wanted me to go. She did it on purpose. I love the solo trip though. No regrets at all. Take care of yourself. The end is coming most likely. Yes, go on that trip. I wish I had. I canceled 3 trips, 1 for just us. The other 2 were us plus our kids. I paid for all the trips, all the money lost, but most importantly, the escape of life. My ex was also cheating, but would have flipped out on me had I gone. I wish I had gone. Hopi has got bigger problems than just vacation scheduling. The wife is clearly using the vacations to punish Hopi even after the arguments are over. Does she even like you, man? She doesn't even want to go on vacation with you. The argument doesn't equal canceling a $2,400 vacation. That's an extremely drastic decision to make after a simple argument. If that's the thing she decides to dangle over your head, it's telling. Sounds like she set this up, honestly. Thinking back, is she the one starting these arguments? If so, tell her that's her problem. Also, I hate to sound so suspicious, but one of the things cheaters avoid doing is going on vacations with their spouses, as it doesn't support their narrative that their marriage is bad to the affair partner. Might want to hire a PI or have a friend do a little snooping while you're gone. My husband and I have been married for almost 2 years, and our son is an infant. We live in Canada. I grew up here while my husband immigrated when he was a student. My parents live nearby, which has been invaluable during my pregnancy and since. My mom comes over regularly to help us out. My husband and her are on good terms too, so it's been going well. His parents live in another country. We visited them once since we married 7 months ago. The time before that was our wedding itself, which took place there. My husband had been talking about my mother-in-law visiting soon for a long visit, which I was happy about. We recently moved into our new house, and I've done a good job decorating it. We have a large guest room, and I was looking forward to hosting her, especially since it would make my husband happy. A couple of days ago, he complained about how detailed her visa application was. I told him I was surprised it was so thorough. He told me that it's because while regular visa forms allow a stay of 6 months max, this one allows 2 years. I asked why she would need a stay of more than 6 months. He said that she'd been thinking of winding up her medical practice and basically retiring, which would allow her to stay for a longer visit if we all decide it works. I was stunned. I told him you should just do the regular app because his mom won't be staying for anywhere close to 6 months. I had it in my mind that she'd be staying for like a month. That's how long we stayed for when we went there. He said that it's his mom. She tells him how alone she feels. She can't go to my brother-in-law's because he lives with roommates, and we can't put a timer on her visit here. He said she's been looking forward to helping us with our son. I told him we didn't need help. We managed fine on our own and with my mom's help. I wanted to host his mom as a guest, not as part of our household. He complained about how it was fair that my parents could visit whenever they wanted while he couldn't. That hurt me because my parents have helped us out a lot, and I asked him if he wanted us to limit how often my mom comes to visit. He said, no. That's not what he meant, that he liked her, but it wasn't fair to his parents. My reply was that when my mom comes, she goes at the end of the day. That wouldn't be the case with his. I ended it by saying he should look into the easier regular form because she can't be thinking of staying for that long. He chose to sleep on the couch that night and has been cold with me since. I hate that. We've never been cold to each other like this. I talked to my mom too. She said that having his mom live with us for long stretches would affect me, that this is worth fighting for. I haven't seen him working on the application since. Last night, he went out when his mom called. When he came back, I asked him how she took it. He told me he had told her he was looking into what application best suited her. He asked me if I changed my mind. I said no. He just shook his head and started watching TV. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I have a sneaky feeling your husband is trying to sponsor his mother to stay permanently in Canada. This could well have been his plan all along. You need to make it clear to your husband that his mother is not to stay with you for a long period of time, definitely not permanently. He can still sponsor her if she gets her own place. Assuming they aren't from a super impoverished country, she probably has some money to pay her way. She could potentially even immigrate independently under her medical skills if she was willing to work for a couple more years. I'm curious because OP mentions his parents as a couple, but only his mom has been coming for a long time and needs a visa. There's no mention of their father-in-law, but refusing his mom's extended stay is unfair to his parents. Is it significantly easier to sponsor only one person versus a couple in Canada? Feels like there's some loophole he's trying to use. Oh, if she's winding up her practice, she can move to Canada in her own place and visit like your mom. No need for her to live with you. That's what I don't understand. If she's presumably an educated, financially stable adult, why doesn't she rent a house or apartment in Canada for 6 months? I might be cynical, but this sounds suspiciously as if hubby and his mom planned this way before the baby came, possibly before the marriage, and are just now springing this on OP after they're married, have a baby and a house. EP should look into other long-term accommodations near their home. She should not give in unless she wants her mother-in-law living permanently in their house. Oh, there is no 2-year visitor visa to Canada, but there is a 5-year visitor super visa. You need to provide documents to prove you will financially support the parent or grandparent the entire time. Your husband is not being truthful about what he's doing or his full intentions. Your real problem here is that your husband and his mom seem like they're on the same side about this and you are the odd one out. OP, if your husband is Indian, please be careful. I'm not sure all Indian mothers-in-law are difficult, but being Indian myself, I've seen it a lot. They need to control their sons, prove they are better than the other partner the son chose, constantly meddling and taunting, etc. Not saying yours is like that. I didn't think mine was like that either for the 10 years I knew her until I had a baby. She stayed for 5 months. So be careful. Maybe let's do just a 1-month visit to see how mother-in-law acclimates to cold weather, limited social scene, etc. I wouldn't commit to 6 months, let alone 5 years. Update. A lot of what you said has been on my mind too. My father-in-law is alive and, yes, they're together. I don't think he has plans for coming for a long stay like her. Maybe shorter ones. We're from the same culture. We're both of Pakistani descent. I grew up here while he came as a student. My mother-in-law struggles with the language. She's also used to being driven around and doesn't know how to drive. If she rents an apartment within a few weeks, she will be our guest again. We have never discussed her or father-in-law moving in. Honestly, some of my extended family in Pakistan do have this arrangement where families live together, but this was never something that was on the cards for us because his parents are well established there.